here we are with the second run that you guys have done in the aftermath, which is going to be where we have a bit of conversations about reasons things were done, what that ominous red circle meant, and what is public awareness. Checking the book on page 372, public awareness represents how well the character is known amongst the media, authorities, and the public at large. There is a little chart on the next page that's like on a 0 to 3, you are unheard of outside of the shadow community. On a 4 to a 6, those who are known to watch the shadows, conspiracy theorists, specialty law enforcements. 7 to 9 is known to those who are in the know, investigative journalists, law enforcement, some government officials. At over a 10, well, you're in the movies, baby. In this run, I handed out 2 points of public awareness, 1 to Sue and 1 to Rot. Rot has a negative quality of signature. So while Jack may forget, Rot does not. Because he's...
And I'm thankful for this, because I didn't want to forget. It just happens.
Yeah. So what happened here, the little red clock that I made, because that's what it is, it's a clock a la Blades in the Dark, was as you guys were doing things on site, either over time or when certain things happened, I would tick it to show, I guess the best way is increased repercussions. For example, I believe I filled in a tick when Hex failed to hack and got a mark on them. It's like, oh, host is alerted. And I think when you guys started manhandling the drone in the basement, I ticked the thing, because you're kind of leaving evidence just by ripping open a bunch of doors and messing with it, that kind of thing. So the public awareness comes in because Rot left evidence as per his signature, and his, at the very least, his van was caught on camera leaving the place, because it's got cameras all over the place, and the guard himself got to, like, he walked all the way around. He knows something was up, because when Sue was interacting with him on at least one of those social tests, I beat him. And it was like, okay, something is up, because he didn't fall for your lie. But since he was also magicked, he went along with what you wanted him to do, because you were like, hey, man, it's not a big deal. Just get back in your car and get out. And, magicked. So he didn't believe you, but at the same time, the magic kind of forced him to. And then he was shot twice. So when his superiors ask him questions the next day, they're like, so what happened last night? It's like, well, there was this really tall German guy who I remembered having a conversation with, and something in his story didn't add up. And this is the kind of vehicle he was around. And then they could check a little bit of the cameras. They could see that vehicle leaving. They know what parking spot you were in, so they go out somewhere and they find this weird little feng shui crystal. And it's like, what is this doing here? But somewhere in the great cosmos, there are little bits of evidence in a file somewhere.
Huh.
Which is all really that public awareness means. And, like, if you keep your nose clean for a while, and you guys don't leave any giant evidence somewhere, maybe after a month it'll go away, because it's like, oh, this is clearly a dead case or something like that. Or you could take more creative methods to trying to remove it.
That's actually interesting. Does that mean that my public awareness never goes down, since I am, like, obliged to leave stuff?
It depends. In this situation, there was very obviously a criminal thing that happened. Dude was shot, thing was stolen, stuff was messed with, the host was alerted. Like, that's why that clock filled up, because things happened that...
So what you're telling me is that sometimes when I leave the stuff, it might not be found, but here they were searching for anything.
Yeah, like here, like, let's say you murdered that guy. They may have gotten you because they would have caught your camera. You were the only vehicle leaving around that time when they very obviously have records of thing opening, and they could find out that guy's time of death, that kind of thing. So they go and they check their cameras, and at that time, this is the only vehicle that left. So I would probably hit you with public awareness in that situation, since you are very obviously linked to a crime, but not Sue. So
Okay. So his quality, like was this just like there was a crystal in the middle of a parking lot? Like, can he like toss it into a ficus in the office building that we're robbing, or like does it have to be like?
so it's one of those things. It is literally like the thief that leaves a playing card, the place where he stole the jewels from.
Okay,
It is.
so like Ocean's 12 had that guy that left the little fox like in the empty safe and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's basically exactly what it is. It won't always result in public awareness or notoriety because, like, at the convention, somewhere somebody picked that up and was like, "What is this doing here?" But there was no way to link that to what the crime happened was.
Right.
Um,
Would we, as a team, at any point be able to realize that Rod is doing this?
um,
Interesting question.
maybe.
Yeah. Can we pick these things, buddy?
So that kind of comes back to, like, let's say I have a code of honor where I don't kill women, but that's why I brought Dante around, because he kills women. It kind of defeats the purpose.
No, I
Well,
mean, like, as in causing potential intergroup problems. Like, if we find out that he's been leaving something that could lead back to us, there might be some drama.
I'm sorry. I just have to say, I really like the idea of you guys sort of like quietly accepting, and I'm leaving those things behind, and you're just scooping them up, like, oh, let him have his fun.
As long as it is character drama and not player drama, that's great.
Oh, no, totally character drama. I am so cool with, this thing, and I've known about it, so.
But it's the kind of thing, like, if you guys find out about it, and you could have that confrontation, and he could explain why he does it and all that other kind of good stuff, and he could totally, like, if you guys have that conversation, he could totally work towards buying off the quality. Or if you want, what we could do is every time you guys pick up one that, like, you go out of your way to find it and pick it up, I'll just give him one less karma, and after like 20 times he could buy the quality off because you guys are just picking up after him consistently.
After we've confronted him doing, like, Intervention, 6th World Edition.
Yeah, basically.
Or we could probably work towards finding Sue, since, I don't know, maybe he will link 2 plus 2.
That's the thing, is I got the description from Rod of his character, and he mentioned this in it, that he leaves them around everywhere, hoping that I will happen along and see them and realize that it means he's looking for me, which, I mean, I'm not going to realize that.
Right, but, like, sooner or later you guys will have some kind of conversation where, maybe you get access to some birth records or something, or some medical something, where he eventually finds out who you are. That's perfect reasoning to buy the quality off.
Well, I was thinking more if we have that conversation and he explains, I do this because I'm looking for my friend from Germany, that is going to go a long way.
Right. No, that is 100% true.
Just as a quick question, like maybe a little side question, the Bulldog van is a big van, right? Mm-hmm. If I bought a bigger van to accommodate Sue, that would be almost like a bus, right?
Probably.
There's something in Rigor 5 that is kind of like the GMC, but legit, or like there's civilian versions of huge cars or vans.
They totally exist. Or Sue could just get his own vehicle. Then you don't have to worry.
Yeah, because the thing is that with like super big vehicles, it's gonna be very, very, I don't know.
Easy to find from a helicopter trying to shoot you?
Yeah, and unhandy, unhidey. I don't know. Bad.
So that
You
kind of
always
leads
ride
into
on the
another
back
question that I had.
Jet's motorcycle, right?
Um,
I'm sorry, there was like 4 people trying to talk there, and now nobody's trying to talk, which makes me paranoid that my headset.
Hex, what did you just say?
Because you always ride on the back of Jet's motorcycle, right?
Yeah,
Sue can? No.
no,
I do
that's
like
the
the
thing.
I. Go ahead.
I'm like 11 feet tall.
it's a very funny picture. You know those little Shriner cars,
Yeah.
Yeah,
or like the adults on the little mini bikes.
right.
Yeah, kind of like that, only with 2 people riding them. It'd be very uncomfortable and probably not safe at all.
I
That's
like
what
the
I was kind
idea
of
of
thinking.
Sue getting like the equivalent of a smart car, but sort of metahuman adapted.
I was thinking about him
Yeah.
buying like roller skates and just holding on to the van and driving after the van.
Not with my agility.
Take up ranks in
But
roller disco.
so
You
the
don't have
thing
to
that I was
stay on
thinking
the
was
hills.
I was thinking about buying a bike, but um, he was saying maybe I can get a bigger van. What van would that be? Surely they make vehicles for large people
So
because there's trolls running around all.
the like GMC Bulldogs that are troll sized are the same footprint as a regular person GMC Bulldog. It's just, the steering wheel, the shaft that's on is a lot longer, and the chairs may be farther back. So they just kind of like mush it around a little bit.
Yeah, but the space inside is the same because that's
Yeah.
what we care about. It's like 5 people
Yep.
with a giant. So I
Okay.
assume we won't have any space inside.
No, so like
When we So if he wanted to adapt it for a giant or a troll, what he would really kind of do is take the shotgun seat out, and I would just sit in the middle seat with my legs in the passenger well.
kind of, but
Under your chin.
uh, game/abstraction, which doesn't really, nothing in the mechanics says that you lose seating for having a troll-sized car for a troll to sit in. There's just mentions of
Huh.
like having a troll takes up 1.5 seats or 2 seats or whatever it is.
Okay.
Not like
Well, that is basically what that would be. But if
right,
I were
but
going to
like
buy a motorcycle,
but there's no mention that like the troll GMC Bulldog is 2 times as large as the people GMC Bulldog.
right? People, Jesus.
Casual
Um,
racism.
if I wanted to buy a motorcycle, like what motorcycle is designed for my
Any of them
fucking?
you want. They all come in troll sized.
Okay.
There's
You just
actually a
have to pay a
store
little extra.
No, you don't even have to pay any extra. It's the same cost as like when you buy it that way, you get it that way.
Okay, let's go. That was supposed to be like a side question, but okay.
No, it's legit. That's why we're here. So, the other thing that came to mind afterwards that was, I guess, fitting. I don't know the word I want for this, but this one got to kind of test the morals of the group a little bit because somewhere there's going to be a very upset family when they get a call saying that their loved one has gone missing. So it was one of those things where like, well, let's see how much of giant scumbags they are versus how much they're gonna get paid because the pay was low enough that it was in the area of like, maybe we don't really need this job after you find out some of the details. Versus, if I had paid you guys like, here's 200,000 nuyen to do the same job, but you're an asshole for doing it. They'd be like, well, it's 200,000 nuyen. Let me just take that money. Whereas,
Oh, I didn't realize that was low.
It's on the lower
So
side.
let's just rewind. Let's just rewind now, and
Oh, I'm just saying, Bam said giant scumbags, not human scumbags.
Don't worry, you're
Ah,
all collectively scumbags.
I mean, to be fair, if we did a regular run, people would get fired. People would lose their livelihoods.
Yeah, potentially, probably. It all depends upon the specifics of it, because like, you know, professional criminals hit your building and you're a big corporation, you have that accounted for somewhere in your bottom line that like we're going to be hiring Shadowrunners and we know people are going to Shadowrun against us. So maybe you fire the guy, maybe you ruin that life, maybe not. That's why I always kind of recommend people go non-lethal first, because when you start racking up explosions and body counts, it gets a lot more expensive for the corporations. And when you start eating too much into their bottom line, they start to get pissed about that.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is, aside from the security guard, nobody got hurt.
yeah, I think that's the main question because I believe Dante is like quite fine. He's like a mercenary type. I am quite numb, so I don't think I really care about it much. So that leaves like Hex, Sue, and Jet to sort of, I don't know. How do you guys feel about that?
I'm definitely pro non-lethal.
Yeah, Hex would be very much non-lethal.
Yeah, but it's more
There's
like about
intricacies,
the.
though. Like, we didn't kill anybody, sure, but we are going to greatly disturb a whole lot of people who don't get to bury their loved one now.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about. Like, because that's why I said it. I don't really care. So like, Rod doesn't really care. I don't know. Dante already said he doesn't care. I think.
Yeah,
What about
pretty much.
people who actually care about stuff?
In
That
this
is not among
case,
the things I care about.
Jet's attitude is, this guy was meat at
Yep.
this point.
Funerals are silly. That's worm food.
Like, I mean, I get that to some extent it will damage the grieving process, but honestly, people die and they don't find their bodies sometimes. And you're just going to have to accept that.
And sometimes
But
they get
if
sold
it
to be chopped
was-
up into pieces.
Yeah, but you know what? You gotta make a living.
I love how.
But I mean, like, if it was hurting somebody or
So you're saying if it was a
something
live person,
along those lines, yeah.
if it was a live person that was going to get, like, if you walked into that same scene in that warehouse and you were told to kidnap a live person, you'd have felt way different.
At best, he would walk out.
If it were clear that he was going to be chopped up and murdered, I would not nonchalantly drop him on the table.
I mean, there would be a chance that Jet might just ice the J.
Damn! Look at these bunch of goodies.
I love how that sounds like, justifying taking a lollipop from a child. It was sugar. It was bad for him anyway. So, I mean, I did him a service.
Listen, I mean, people are complicated. We all have conflicting and strange views and weird lines that are drawn. You know? I mean, Jet does see himself as a bit of a hooder, to use the Shadowrun parlance, but I mean, the guy was dead, and we weren't going to bring him back. He was just spare parts at that point.
Yeah.
Now, if it comes back to us that Miss Cleo used his parts as a blood link to hurt the family, oh lordy.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. But in terms of like, oh, it'll damage the grieving process, whatever like young people are involved in the grieving process there, yeah, they're going to go through a little bit of upset now, but at some point later on in their lives, they're going to dine out on that story at least once. So I think it all works out in the end.
It's very interesting how quickly certain people turn away from, oh yeah, no, we'll totally kidnap this dude, to, we don't want to throw him on that operating table.
Well, yeah.
People are complicated.
People are
Killing is where the line is. Like, it's a
okay.
pretty.
I mean,
It
Jet
does make-
probably wouldn't be cool if he found out with, Sue's mind manipulation. Because, as the conversation went, and I didn't want to, jump back in hours after the fact, there are worse things than dying.
This is true.
That was all prep for an in-character conversation, so that's fine.
Which didn't happen because I rolled a 3 on a perception. And it won't happen, I guess, because of that.
Sooner or
So-
later.
Well,
Yeah,
It'll happen
statistics.
Or maybe it did happen, and he already mind controlled you into forgetting that it happened.
I know, right? It sucks so much!
In which case, oh man, we're gonna have to do a hit on Sue once we find out.
you already did. I'm dead. You don't remember?
Oh my god!
This is like an Arkham City situation. This is troubling.
There are just layers upon layers here.
And the corpse was actually a metaphor for, Sue and stuff. Like, he's dead, and
You know what, guys? You're really not that troubled by it.
It's not that
But
big a deal.
personally, as a player, I'm not comfortable with us veering this heavily into Nolan territory.
Yeah, I think I'd like to stay away from that. Like, that
So-
would not be the preferred run.
To kind of bring it back around, this is here for us to communicate and talk about things. Is there anything you guys want to ask me as far as reasoning and stuff? Because I think I hit on the big ones that I wanted to address.
So at one point you mentioned, why didn't you just dig the guy back up again?
Yeah.
As a GM, if that was a plan that we were going with, would you just let us get away with it easy? Would you find other
So
ways to
here's-
challenge us with that?
Here's the
or-
question: you still have the when, and you have the how. Because if you guys want to dig him up, like are you going to go out into the cemetery in the middle of the night with lanterns and shovels?
Well, I guess
Next
my bigger
time.
question is, it's very easy at that point. It's our last possible chance to get him.
Right.
For you as a GM to just be like, nope, things got delayed, he's not getting buried, or the cemetery is different, or just otherwise gum up the works completely and say, sorry, the job failed and we can't react. Is that something you
That's a dick
would
move.
consider doing as a GM?
No.
Or
So, I laid out the timeline. If I suddenly change that without any foreshadowing, let's say you guys went to the hospital just to visit your sick friend, air quotes, and I had a scene where there were two family members arguing over something, and then you guys dug into it and you found out that they were going to move the date, that the burial, the viewing, whatever it was. That's one thing, because it has been foreshadowed. You guys have the opportunity to do with that what you will, but when it comes time, bros, I told you it was going to happen. Just doing it without foreshadowing at all is kind of dick, because I can come up with any number of reasons why you guys lose. Maybe that guy had, a partner and a trainee in that night, and they all get out and they're wearing full body armor and, But
Now, would you say that there was a delay in that there was a schedule change in the opposite direction to give us one more chance if there was, a big screw up, or would that be too softball in your
unless you guys did some kind of screw up, let's say you went in there to steal the body, you got it halfway out, the cops were called, you dropped the body and ran. Well, in that situation, you guys go to do a little bit more digging, a little bit more legwork to find out what's up. I may push the time back, because now it makes sense to push the time back, because there's a holdup due to the investigation. It's look, we can't get the body to the funeral home because we're doing police stuff with it. So that would probably push the time back, but again, it should always be foreshadowed in some kind of way, because otherwise you go back to breaking that trust.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question. Because as you said, there's any number of reasons you could do stuff to the body, to the mission, to everything. Uh, is there a point when you like, let's say, collect on the trust and do stuff like that? Like, you know, you just change the mission. It's like an ambush, or you change the date, or something goes horribly wrong to, I don't know, to advance the story. Do you think you would do something like that at
Cashing in
some
on
point?
that trust means you're breaking that
You know,
trust. I would
Yeah.
totally do a mission where, like, if I were to do a job that is like the Johnson's going to fuck you over, you will find out through the course of that job there will be hints dropped. Granted, it's on you guys to kind of pick up on the hints, but it would be a couple of different things that you could come across. And then when it happens, if you guys, looking back on it, you'd be like, ah, damn it. But it's the kind of thing that you would never really hide behind, like unless you glitched or crit glitched the roll. You can't be like, well, you rolled shitty on the one perception test that mattered, so you're all dead now.
okay, so you never sort of break the trust. So you never do a mission where players are like, oh, you know, this is real life. Shit can go weirdly and stuff.
So sometimes
And
that kind of stuff does happen. Like that, I was planning on just paying you guys and being done with it, but then somebody glitched on a perception test, and suddenly a car full of Vori spawned. Now they didn't really do anything except for drive you guys a little nuts, but there was a cause and an effect there. You were like, give me that glitch. I love it. So one of you guys is wanted by the Vori. Some Vori are going to show up. They may or may not do anything, but everything they did was in reference to what was going on. Like they came in and they sat there for a minute because it's like, oh, you see those guys over there, and it's like, all right. And then you knocked on the thing because they were there second. You guys weren't trying to be stealthy, so they obviously saw you. They kind of gave it a second to see what you guys were doing. You guys kind of eyeballed them too, and then they're like, all right, and they go to do their thing. Maybe that guy was getting out to talk to you. We don't know.
As a quick follow up on that, maintaining the trust notion.
Yeah.
Let's say you have this idea for the Johnson betraying us, like you said, and you're going to drop hints. If we just fail to uncover those hints, either through legwork or shitty dice rolls, are you going to go through it anyway, or are you going to try and tailor it for the trust aspect?
So long as you do legwork, something in there is going to give you at least an idea. When we started this run, the first thing that Larry told you is that this lady is scary. The second thing you found out was where she was. And then it's like, okay, there's a bunch of gangers around, but there's very specifically not anybody patrolling, doing gang stuff within, a couple of blocks of her shop. Outside of said shop, there is a Halloweener, one of the gangers, who is unresponsive. And then when you guys went in, Sue ran into that magical barrier, which was her lodge. That was all like, look, this lady is kind of serious. If it was to be like a Johnson betrayal, maybe when you go in there, the Johnson offers you a ridiculous sum of money for how easy the job is going to be. Or like he offers you a normal amount of money, you get... Mechanically, you guys know that you only got like 1 or 2 net hits on his thing, because I open roll all my dice. But he offers you some wildly exorbitant sum after it. Or, I'll describe his bodyguard as kind of like giving you the serious eyeball, and he'll start some grief with you, or any number of things. So, like, even if you don't legwork specifically whether or not this guy's going to screw me over, I will hopefully plant the seed there, and because you guys talk about things, I will hear whether or not you're picking up what I'm putting down, and I can twist things to give you more information, to push you in that direction if you're not getting it, because you guys talk about it.
I think the question was like, would you push it so that we always find it, like, at least a little bit and just ignore it? Or would you stop pushing if,
I
like,
would-
after the third time we didn't
I
get
would
it?
push to maybe like I would need to at least hear somebody say something doesn't feel right about this, because that means that somewhere in somebody's head they're like something doesn't feel right about it. You know, something's sketch here. And then I would probably give another, like, whatever that conversation is about. I would drop a nut, like if you were calling up one of your contacts and asking a thing, and then you called up a different contact, I would probably perhaps reinforce that thing that got you guys thinking, oh, maybe this is a little sketch. As we talked about in our session 0, at some point you guys are going to get busted, because that's the storyline that we're kind of going for, that you guys are going to fall under a corp umbrella and be doing things for a corporation. So at some point, something either has to go horribly wrong, or somebody's got to screw you over. We'll see which way that goes when that time comes, but that is something that we have predetermined.
Okay.
But you're not necessarily talking about like Hex is looking around for memos and finds one that says, "Dear Mr. Johnson, your requisition for the Shadowrunners has been denied. You won't be able to pay them when you're planning to on Friday." Like,
I mean, if for some reason if you knew like exactly the guy that who was hiring you, like if you knew him from TV or something, and you went searching in his, like, you know, you hacked his comlink and that kind of stuff, or hacked his host or whatever, and maybe you could find that he's not who he is or that kind of thing. So you don't cash in on that trust, to use the phrase that we used earlier, because when you do, that trust is near impossible to get back to the same level it was. Because we've kind of established that trust already, means that if I break it, every game we play from then on, you're going to spend so much extra game time being like, oh shit, the Johnson's going to betray us. Quick, do some matrix searches on him. Call your contacts on him. Do this on him. We got to tail him. Hack his phone. Just like so much extra stuff. It's like, dude, guys, I'm not going to do it. Relax.
yeah. Well, I think we've shown that we're all already prone to that sort of behavior. Some of us more so than others.
And to be fair, there was a legit threat there. Like, if you guys messed with them in some kind of way, there would have been repercussions. They weren't just be like, oh yeah, no, we're here for whatever. If it's Dante with the bounty, right?
Yeah.
So if he went up and like knocked on, if he was there instead of Jet and went up to talk to these guys, and there would have been a die roll of some kind. It probably would have been Dante's edge to see whether or not these guys recognize him. And had they recognized him, like had he rolled maybe one hit or really poor, like one hit would have probably ended up in a, you look real familiar from somewhere, and then forced the situation to change to see what he would do. It's not just, oh, you only got one hit, roll initiative. If you had critically glitched, it may have been like, I know you're that, that thing, and for whatever it is you did, which I don't really remember if you ever told me. I don't. But that's kind of how that would have escalated. And maybe if like you guys let him stand outside when those Vori were coming out to go into their thing, maybe it would have been like the one dude standing over there with a cigarette out front watching guard, and he looks over and he sees Dante, and it's just like a bro, I'm a criminal nod at each other. And, Dante goes back, and then maybe there's a dice roll of like, it would probably be a significantly different threshold because you're farther away, it's dark out, he's just got a cigarette he's smoking, but there was never going to be like any like, hey, they're here to get you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Now, another question I had with like runs in general. This run was uneventful, sort of. No one sort of There's like a quiet hospital, quiet time, quiet stuff, and you had to like pick up on that at some point. Like, oh, there's not gonna be enough people, enough guards, people won't care, and they picked a place and a time that's gonna be really quiet. Did you like think about how much to obstruct us, or if you like, oh, they picked a really good spot, I'm not gonna obstruct them too much. I'm just gonna check if they did a lot of like stink work.
So
Yeah.
I do not pre-plan my security and that kind of stuff because I will let you guys decide it for me. I could sit here and prep my sessions and be like, okay, at any given time during the day, there are 4 security guards, 1 guy patrolling, 2 secretaries. I could do all of that work about how many, how often you might see nurses or housekeeping or any of that kind of stuff. But that's a lot of work. And I don't like doing a lot of work because at the end of the day, if I had done all of that and if I had done similar amounts of things for the night crew, and then you guys went to dig the dude up, it's like, all right, well, all of that work is wasted. Technically not wasted because I could always reuse it later. There are plenty of reasons to steal things from a hospital. But in this situation, you guys picked a good time to do it. Like, I shouldn't increase the security because you guys made a good choice. If you guys make a bad choice, like, say, crashing your van through the front gate and grabbing the secretary and demanding that they take you to wherever it is you want to go, well,
That wouldn't be a bad choice. That would be an exciting choice.
This is true, but I got the impression that you guys were kind of excited as we were going through it anyway. Like there was perhaps a little bit of tension, especially for Hex.
Yeah, just a little bit.
All the probulating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't
Oh man,
bored.
that probulating was ridiculous.
I'm sorry, Sue. I didn't hear you there.
Oh, I said I wasn't bored.
See, sometimes you guys will make the good choices, and things will go great. Sometimes you guys will make bad choices, and things will be more interesting. And sometimes jobs will be more exciting. Like, there's any number of things you can be hired to do, and it's one of the things I love about Shadowrun is the characters are the agents of chaos. In like D&D, you have your bad guy doing bad things and he is disrupting the status quo of your idyllic countryside. And it's up to you to stop that disruption. In Shadowrun, the world is the idyllic countryside, and you are the assholes that are coming in and ruining things.
So we're like the tourists. Come in and throw our shit around and then leave.
Just take pictures and leave your trash everywhere. Kinda.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, if you guys didn't do anything, he would have that next night or afternoon or whatever it was, he was going to go to the funeral home, and the next morning they would have had things would have progressed as normal, and that'd have been on you guys to do whatever. I had a couple of NPCs in mind in case you ran into them. One was totally not a vampire old man that was working the midnight shift at the funeral home because of the way the scheduling worked out by accident. He needed to work at the nighttime, but pale, gaunt, spindly arms, no hair. He's just a dude that happens to be a mortician or whatever the technical term for a dude who works at a funeral parlor is.
I want to check your ID.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't have had like a Dracula accent because I don't need to push that as far as I can. And then
You don't? Huh.
only sometimes.
That's right. He'd have a German accent and he'd call himself Strahd.
Ugh. And I had another NPC because there was this is the second time I've had somebody steal a corpse. The first time the guy was already buried. They there was a YARP guy who worked at the cemetery. Did you guys ever see Hot Fuzz?
Yeah.
So you know YARP.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There was that guy. He carried around a shovel. He dug holes. But what made him interesting is after they convinced him into that they needed this body and that he was going to get in big trouble because he was a little slow. Um, he took the shovel and he stuck it in the dirt and he concentrated for a moment and 7 foot tall earthy lurch comes up and then goes into the ground and the ground vomits forth the coffin because
Whoa.
dude was an aspected shaman that was a gravedigger. Summoned earth spirits
Nice.
to do his digging.
Better than the shovel.
The shovel was like his fetish or his foci or something like that. But yeah, so there was interesting NPCs that you could have run into, but you decided not to, which is fine. Like those people are still there if you ever for some reason want to go hang out the cemetery and be like, what happened here?
We want to meet new people. Let's go to the cemetery
They're
I'm
or
not
the
sure.
morgue.
they're very lively.
I'm not
over
sure
there.
if not sure if Jet will transition into his goth phase that quickly.
Was there anything else you guys wanted to ask about, talk about?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank because that was my question. Thank
No,
you.
that's why we're doing this.
So my question is, would they have had Dragunovs had I not said anything?
They would. So my thought process in mind was Russian equivalents of SMGs, like the Ingram Smart Gun is what it would have been mechanically, but I'm not too good with Russian things. So you would have just like when you Matrix Perceptioned it, you would have seen Smart Gun, you would have seen a bunch of Russian letters. And then when you said
Seeing how. Okay.
the actual name of a gun, I was like, yeah, sure, they have those because you said it. And then I found out what it was. I was like, whatever.
You're
So,
like, no, that works better. You're trying to murder the players harder than I am. Thank you.
I mean, it's not murder if you guys don't get in a fight. All you gotta do is let them do their business. And I baited you guys because there was totally a guy that was probably getting tortured and killed in there too.
I just want to drop that. So, since you said you're not so good, we are kind of paranoid, so we are also not good at Russian things.
That's fine. The only reason they were Russian is because somebody has wanted Vori. If that quality was not on the table, they would have probably been Yakuza because I love using Yakuza for things. Probably because they're racist. Because they're
Oh, I thought you were gonna say it's because you like katanas and stuff.
Oh, part of it's because the only there are two other in the cast in the UCAS. It's Mr. Johnson for Shadowrunners. If you're working with like the Yakuza or Japan Corps or Japanese, it's usually like a Mr. Tanaka. And then for Germany, it's like Herr Schmidt because the idea is like these are just the common names of folks. So here you go.
I have a question.
Hit me.
What was on top of the warehouse?
It was a spirit.
Oh,
It was one of her
would I have
spirits.
would I have known that?
If you sensed it.
Oh, so I could see it, then I would have to sense it to find out what it was.
Yeah, because there is a specific table for a sensing to find out things about it rather than just like the area.
Okay, it's not like looking across a parking lot and seeing a guy.
Yeah, because the astral is weird, so it could be a spirit, it could be a spell, it could be a watcher, um, it could be a dual-natured person that's up there hanging out. Um,
So basically, you're saying it could be a dragon or a Sasquatch.
yeah,
Or a vampire.
yeah.
I mean, I would assume that a dragon would be more noticeable, especially to pretty much everybody else, considering their power, right?
Here's the great thing about dragons is they break the rules. So
Oh, yeah.
it knows a dragon would probably know just about every meta magic, which includes masking and flexible signature. So who knows what the dragon feels like looking like.
Huh. So I guess the objection would be a dragon probably has better things to do than sit around on top of a warehouse at the Tacoma docks.
Or maybe it doesn't, or maybe it really likes this particular warehouse.
A dragon's gotta have hobbies.
Dragons are really weird, but I don't really like using them because of their weirdness. Like, dragons don't think in metahuman terms. Like, one of the best descriptions that I was given when it came up on one of the subreddit one time was like, a dragon will hire you to take this small bag of seeds and go plant them at this location at a property that is under construction. Because the dragon knows in 20 years that tree that grows out of that bag of seeds is going to be in perfect position for somebody to pop up like a sniper and shoot into the manager's office. Which is all well and good for like a singular run, because it's like, okay, this is just really weird. Chances are your runners aren't going to be alive in 20 years to see the fruition of their work.
So dragons are essentially like a combination of plot device and Deus Ex Machina.
Yes, because dragon. Especially if great dragons get involved, because you lose those fights. Like,
Yeah, I don't want to get in that situation.
unless plot is applied, you lose those fights.
That is weird. Like when they were talking about basically screwing over the runners based on one roll, I couldn't help but think about the relatively high number of posts that we see on the sub that are like, my players rolled a glitch and so therefore everything died or everything failed horribly, or they got a large number of successes and killed a dragon outright. And it just seems like no they didn't. You did that.
There are certain times, like one of the more recent dragon deaths was like dragon chasing after dude. Dude goes into subway. Guy pulls out rocket launcher, shoots dragon in mouth. And it's like, okay, for one, that's why chunky salsa is a dumb rule. For two, dragon would probably have an okay chance of soaking that, or at least most of it, without the chunky salsa, because chunky salsa is a dumb rule.
Yeah. Well, and also if that were the sort of thing that happened ever, no dragon would ever just pursue a runner into a subway tunnel.
Well, here's the beautiful
idiots.
thing about dragons in that case. Who's to say that what you blew up was not an illusion portrayed by the dragon that's chase after you?
Yeah, I mean, the dragons are essentially God's manifest physical in the sixth world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I'm just thinking, like ducking into a subway tunnel. That is not how you tricked the dragon in such a way that it died. That didn't happen.
There was a thing on the Runner Hub when I was still involved, where I was involved in fighting a great dragon, but it was a great dragon that we had kind of accidentally invented as per our storyline when we had our mayor thing going on, and it was the end of a plot line to get like the last bit of that out of the hub, and every single person around that table, I think, burned at least one edge in that situation. And we applied significant amounts of plot to it, because what we had done, there was a prior run where one of the players stole a canister of Fab 3. So we started off the fight, well, before the fight, by making a couple of armorer rolls and giving everybody some Fab 3 capsule rounds.
I'm sorry, Fab 3?
Fluorescing astral bacteria. Imagine it is germs that literally eats magic. Normally, you can get away from it by stopping astrally perceiving and doing some other things, but a dragon is dual-natured, aka doesn't have a lot of choice in the matter.
Yeah, it's basically dual-natured napalm or Agent Orange.
Yeah, it is a war crime, sort of. Like it wrecks the background of an area. So we had a canister of this stuff that we turned into bullets. And we went out and we found a hellhound. And we infected it with this Fab 3 and we put a grenade collar around its neck. So that, when the dragon came and found us, we started off the fight by detonating the grenade collar, killing the hellhound, so that the Fab that was infesting it, or eating off of it, was like, well, that's dead. What around here's, oh, I'm going to go eat this. So this cloud of Fab in the astral begins going after it. Meanwhile, we begin kind of fighting it, and the entirety of the things that my character did, this is when I was playing my pistol adept, was like, okay, I'm going to shoot it in the eye with a Fab bullet. It's like, all right. Proceeds to roll 24 dice or something like that. I'm going to shoot it in the other eye on my next turn. It's like, okay, the dragon is now blinded because shit's eating its eyes. It's like, I'm going to shoot it in the wing, I'm going to shoot it in the other wing, I'm going to shoot it in the mouth. That's all I did, was just shoot it in different parts, applying more plot to it. It's like, these are plot bullets. Right. I am throwing plot at it. And that's kind of how we fought it. Because if we didn't have plot, it would not have gone well.
Right. Like if you just said, okay, we want to go kill Lofvir, that would end with, okay, and you were delicious. You guys want to roll some new dudes, or what?
That's basically how it would go. You have failed.
Do you want to roll edge to see how delicious you were?
They are mechanically Rocks Fall Party dies. Because, like, even in that fight, the GM was softballing it because plot. Because dragons have the fear power that they can hit a whole bunch of people with. And then they roll, like, 20-ish dice to do it versus your, like, 8 to defend yourself, because it's like a logic willpower or something to not run away in fear, or to even not face it again. So it could be like, fear you. All right, I burn an edge to not be afraid. Okay, next combat turn. Fear you. You're going to run out of edge. And when you do, I'm going to fear you again, and then I'm going to chase you down one by one and pick you up and put you in my mouth, and that's going to be the end of you.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Can you burn all of your edge, and if you end up as 0 edge, what happens?
The next time you try to burn edge to not die, you are dead.
Okay. I thought it was like, something along the lines of essence.
Yeah. No, that is 100% what it is.
Cool.
Yeah. It's
Thanks for taking my suggestion and making the rest of the party crap their pants.
Yeah, maybe a little.
I'm sorry, what? Jet's trousers are unsullied.
And I wanted to say I was a car at the moment, so yeah.
So you have no pants.
Exactly. I was totally naked.
He leaked a little bit of hydraulics fluid.
So, was there anything else you guys wanted to discuss?
Those were like long questions and story time stuff.
Yeah, no, it's legit.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like the moral of the story is stay on your toes and try not to be a dick.
Yeah, basically.
Do not give the GM ideas.
I mean, in the end, it didn't end up mattering.
I think the most important moment was when we kind of misunderstood, and Jet went to talk to those guys, and then there was like, oh no, they're going the other direction. Oh, so okay, so I'm not. No, I'm going back.
Yeah, I mean, that was just down to, miscommunication.
Yeah. And that's why it's kind of like double the asking, like, okay, so this is what you're doing?
Yes, but, we've seen, like, all adventure as Bamce is picking up our ideas. So it might have been like, oh, so you think they're going your way? Maybe that's going to be more interesting.
Yeah. That's why it's great. That's why I said I play to find out what happens.
Collaborative story for the win.
And we won.
You did win for now.
And Jet,
What?
hey, Hex, please learn some less powerful Soviet weaponry.
And I just want to
I've
say,
been talking about like the ballistic knife and like
stop giving ideas and stuff.
with knives.
Don't worry.
And I just wanted to say, we love your character concept, but being glitchy doesn't have to be your thing. So, you know.
Yeah,
well, y'all
but
just need to like pick up some of the slack and take some glitches, guys.
no, but I mean, Hex, you always pull it out in the end, so that's what matters. You just make the story more interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
Don't ever stop being ballsy.
either that or, Hex needs to buy up her edge so that you can just like, nope, I'm going to downgrade that.
Well, that too.
I mean, I do plan on upping edge eventually. Like, it's really important in fifth ed, apparently. At least if you roll crap like me.
Edge is always good to have, and it's terrible to run out of. So. All right, then. If nobody else has any other questions, we'll go take a break, and then I can shut up and let you guys actually like have some of those nice in-character conversations you wanted to have.
Cool.
Okay.
Where are we communicating? Like on the Discord, on the Roll20, and
We're on the
here?
I mean, we're talking on the Discord. What we'll probably do is just have. Well, let's talk about what we'll probably do after we come back.
Roger Dodger.
So I'll see you guys in a little bit.